If you're watching this video, it's because I had to refilm it. And I put up a poll and you guys said that you wanted it still. So we're filming it now. Basically what happened was I was super sick all last week. I'm still not feeling the greatest. I'm still really feeling nauseous. But I had filmed this really cool reading vlog, reading this series, and I went to go edit it and all of the footage was in slow motion. So I asked what you guys wanted me to do and you said to just film as a sit-down version review. So that's what I'm gonna do. This series has 3 books into it. I'll just show you the series. It's the Hinterland series. This is by Melissa Albert. This is classified as a YA book. I probably would call it YA, but it's more of like older YA. I would say probably like 16. Even like PG-13, I would say probably, but definitely like of that older. It's not, this is about fairy tales, but it's not even like grim fairy tales. Like there's no moral at the end. There's no lesson to be learned. It's just kind of gruesome. I will say that it is kind of very reminiscent, that didn't make any sense, but it reminds me a lot. These books remind me a lot of like that era of like Donnie Darko, Requiem of a Dream, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. If you know who S. Darko is, if you've seen S. Darko, you would absolutely love these books because like you have to go into that deeper, you know what I mean? Like that, yeah. So I think you would love these books because they are pretty trippy, and I don't want to say like psychedelic trippy, but they are trippy. But I can just start with the first book and we'll make our way over, okay? So the first book in the series, it is a duology. So it's just 2 books. The third book, this book is Tales from Hinterland, and this is basically just a collection of the fairy tales that are spoken about in this book as well as this book. So this is a duology. These are just the 2 books that you have to read, like not have to, but like these are the two books that if you're going to read the series, like these are the 2 books in the series. And then this is just like a very nice, I do highly recommend reading this if you're going to bother with the series. I almost want to say you should read this first because then you actually have a basis as to what this series is about. The series is about a woman who wrote these 12 quote-unquote fairy tales, and the fairy tales are pretty gruesome. They don't have happy endings at all, and they're pretty, I mean, it's kind of intense. Just like reading it, it's kind of intense. I'm trying to see if I can find the cover page. Oh, here it is. So this is really cool because this is the cover page for the Tales of the Hinterland, and it says Althea Proserpine? I don't know how to say that last name, but that's the character in this book. That's the grandmother of the book, of like the main character in this book. And so she wrote this book here. She wrote it. It's 12 fairy tales. So if you are interested in reading this series, I almost want to say start off reading this one. I know it's the novella, but it really helps you get into what's going on and to make connections a little bit easier. Because after, like, I read these 2 books first and then I read this last, and there were so many things that I was so confused about that made perfect sense after I read this. So maybe read this first. So there's this book. This is just fairy tales. It's really not much else to say. There's 12 of them in this, and they're pretty short. They're one of those like campfire, almost like scary stories type of thing. This would be really fun to read with a bunch of teenagers, you know, at a campfire with like s'mores and stuff like that. I think this would be fun to just read because they're kind of creepy in a sense, but not so creepy that anyone's gonna like get nightmares or anything like that. And then this is book 1. So this is the Hazelwood. This is about, we've got our main character. Her name's Alice. Her grandmother is Althea. Her grandmother is the person who wrote this book. And her mom is Ella. And they have basically been on the run. They've just been driving around country. And basically what she says is they have been outrunning bad luck. And so if they stay in one place for too long, weird things start to happen, and she attributes that to bad luck. So they're just kind of driving on, looking for places to live. And basically they get a letter in the mail from like a crow that says that her grandmother Althea has passed on. This makes Ella very happy because she decides, okay, our bad luck is over. We can finally stop moving around. Like, we can pick a spot and stay there. So Ella ends up getting married to this very wealthy man, and they live in his townhouse. And Alice goes to school with their daughter, not their daughter, but his daughter. So she goes to school with his daughter, and she comes home and nobody's there, and she has no idea where anybody is. She runs to this guy's house who she's kind of friends with, and she's freaking out. She's like, I don't know where my mom is. And so he's a big fan of her grandmother. So he wants to help because he wants to have answers to questions that he has about her grandmother and about the Hinterland. He believes that Hinterland is real. So they go on this kind of a quest to find her mom. It turns out that they go back to her, where she was living with her mom, with her stepdad and stepsister. And so she goes back to the loft, and her stepdad and her stepsister are there. But her stepdad's like holding a gun up to her and saying, you need to get out. Like, I'm gonna shoot you, get out. And so she's like, where is my mom? And then the stepsister comes out and she's like, she's been kidnapped. So then they go on this journey, right? So they go on this journey to find the Hinterland and to go into the Hinterland. The Hinterland basically is where all of these stories are. And that's what they're trying to find. They're trying to find the Hazelwood. And it's this really cool adventure, but at the same time, like, just things happen along the way. He's pointing out who belongs to what fairy tale type of thing. So that's kind of what this book is about. Again, it really tripped me up. I think the writing is pretty good. Overall, like, the writing was very interesting. It kept me interested. I did find myself wanting to read the next page. I also like that there's short chapters in this, so that's nice. Not too much to say bad against it. I would give this probably a 4-star for this book. I would give it about a 4-star. I think really my only thing is that it seemed like there were things that could have been better explained. And I understand that they get explained if you read this book. However, this book came afterwards. And so for people who read this is the first book that came out. So people just read this, and there's a lot of things that are kind of left up in the air and you're really confused about. So if you weren't kind of a fan of this, you probably wouldn't have picked this up. Or if you aren't someone like me who likes to buy things that all match, and you know, I went to the bookstore and just got all 3 books because it was by the same author, and I thought maybe it was the same series. It is, but I got all 3 books at the same time. So would I have gotten all 3 if I just gotten this one? I don't know. I don't know if I would have continued the series after this book. In my opinion, it was a good book, but it's not a book that's gonna like stick with me to keep up to date and think, oh, is there another book coming out? Because this ends very nicely. Like, it does not end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't end in a weird way. It ends wrapped up. So I would not have assumed, oh, we're waiting for another book to this. You know what I mean? So overall, I would say 4 stars. I would give this 4 stars. I would definitely recommend this. I would recommend it to people that I know, like, what they're interested in now. Like, I wouldn't just like willy-nilly give it to anyone. But yeah, if I knew you were one of those people that really likes, if you've read Bunny by Mona Awad, this is like the YA version of that. So it's less sexual, more plot, I don't want to say plot because Bunny had a plot, but it's more like, I don't know, it's just more YA, I guess. I don't know. More adventure, I would say, more traveling, more journeys, more characters that you're like interested in their backstory. I've never met so many side characters that I'm like, what's going on in their life. So there's a lot of characters that you want to understand their backstory. You want to know it. And they could be characters that just kind of are on the page for a couple of sentences and you still are like, wait, what is their story? So I think that there's a lot of that in here that makes this very unique as a book in general. Then I read The Night Country. This is book 2, and it is a Hazelwood novel. I don't think you really need to read these in, well, I guess you do need to read it in order if you are going to read them at all, but this book, I'm going to be honest, this book kind of fell flat for me. I felt like, one, she cursed so much in this version of the book, or not this version, but like in this book, in this particular book, she does curse in this one, but I felt like it was every other word. It was to the point where it was so annoying that I would find myself skipping a lot just to like, I just didn't want to read the dialogue in general because the dialogue was full of curse words and I was just so irritated. It also felt like there was a lot of angst in this book. It felt like we were constantly on edge. We were constantly fighting with someone. It just was like a lot. I can't really tell you too much about this because a lot of it is the results of the first book, but I can explain that basically somebody is getting rid of the stories and it's up to our main character Alice to figure out who that is, and it turns out that she is one of the targets. So she's just trying to figure out who is taking out these stories and trying to save them, basically. I think that, again, the writing is good. The writing is interesting. I just felt like it was almost sloppy in the sense that, like, I felt like she relied too much on the angst. I feel like this did not feel like a character-driven plot. This felt like this was a story. There was a whole point to this, right? This one was very character-driven, I would say. And I felt like the writing was almost lazy because it just kind of depended on a character's emotions and how a scene would play out and this, that, and the other. And I just felt like a lot of the characters were they weren't the characters that you fell in love with in the first book. It was almost like they have a complete personality change, in which case some of them, they do actually have a personality change. And I just felt like this was just, I don't know, it was a weird thing. I also couldn't understand the timing of it all because I think she's older than what she's supposed to be in this book. I think she ends up being older from this book. I'm just very confused. If somebody has read this before and understands the timeline, please let me know. I understand that the Hinterland time and the real world time are vastly different. And so, like, you may think that you've only been gone for a couple days, but it turns out you've been gone for like a decade. So I get that, like I totally understand that, but I'm still very confused because I was pretty sure that when she got back, she was not in high school. I don't know, but she is graduating high school in this book. In the first couple pages, she's graduating high school. So that just confused me. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, all in all though, I think that this book was okay, but again, I just didn't feel like this book was necessary. For that, I think I'm gonna give it a 3-star. I was kind of playing around with the rating of this one. I was like, maybe it's a 2.5 star, maybe it's a 3, I don't know, but I think I'm just gonna give it a 3-star and call it a day. I don't think I'm gonna spend too much time on that. I just think that she could have just left it at the first book and the storybook and just called it there. I didn't feel like this book was necessary. I didn't feel like it added to anything. I don't think it added, I think it took away, if anything. I think it took away from the story from the first book. I think it took away from the characters from the first book. I just don't feel like it built up anything in general. So that's my personal opinion though. I don't know if you guys have read these books, if you're interested in reading these books. I think that, again, I think that I would definitely recommend it to people who are into that like punk, grungy, weird, like not even thriller. It's not a thriller. It's like that like weird Alice in Wonderland type of genre where it's, you know what I mean? Like very topsy-turvy type of thing. So I would definitely recommend it for that. I do think the covers are really cool. Like I love these covers. They're so different. And I just like all of these around the cover. I think that's so amazing. And I like that it's on both of the books, and all of these things actually make an appearance inside the story. So I think that's great. This one is just very pretty. It's foiled, so I like that. But I also like the inside. Hold on, I'll show you. I just like that there's so much amazing art detail. Like just, I think the detailing in general, just like how everything looks and how it plays out, I think that's really cool. Just the attention to detail with these books, I think are absolutely amazing. I don't know what else to say. That's pretty much the entire review. Overall, I think this series is probably like a 3.5 series for me. Am I gonna reach for these again? Probably not. Am I going to think about them again? Probably, if somebody was like, hey, I want something that's similar to by Mona Awad, something similar to Mona Awad's Bunny that's more on the YA side, I would probably recommend this. But I would say, like, hey, just so you know, like, the cursing is a thing. Like, there's so many curse words, so just be prepared for that. Again, I am so sorry, guys. I just have been feeling like crap lately. I'm hoping that this, like, stops soon. I think it's just this change in seasons. I tend to get sick during the change in seasons. So I'm hoping that that is just what that is and we move on quickly, because this is, I don't like being sick. I hate being sick. I don't like being unproductive. I don't like days off. I'm just like one of those people. I like to have like plans and stuff like that. So I like to stay home. Like I like to have plans as in like, okay, we're gonna do all the bed sheets in the house and we're gonna clean all the towels and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. Like I like those plans, but I don't like sitting in bed being like, I can't leave this room. But anyways, if there are other series that you guys are interested in me reviewing, please leave those down below. You know, all of the things. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really does help. And it makes me really happy to see the subscriber count going up. You know, it's really cool just to see that happen. And then, yeah, if you have any other suggestions for future videos, definitely let those down below. I'm excited for the next video because the next video is going to be a Made Me Read It series, and I'm very, very, very excited about the person that I am doing this month. If you have any like future people, leave that down below. I will get in contact with them and see if they can give me some book reviews, book options, book recommendations. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyways, I will see you guys in another video though. Is this crooked the whole time? Was this camera crooked the whole time? I hope not. I'm not fixing it. Okay. Goodbye.